Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, a World Alternative Media here, and famine is skyrocketing worldwide, and who's surprised? This is something that we've been talking about for a very long time here at World Alternative Media, and we have a bunch of stats to back it up today, and we're going to get into this article from Reuters, which says World Food Price Index rise 5% year on year in September. And of course, this is from Reuters in Rome. It says world food prices rose for a fourth month running in September, led by strong increases for cereals and vegetable oils, the United Nations Food Agency said on Thursday. And more importantly, we're going to get into this article by Zero Hedge that says global food prices rise as famine threat emerges. But first, before we get into all of that, make sure to hit that like button, check those links below, share on social media to get around the shadow banning, and of course, we are completely viewer funded as we've been 100% demonetized, so make sure to check our links for GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar, there's Bitcoin, there's a Cointree address with all of our crypto addresses. You can join our newsletter at www.iamband.com, which is completely free, and of course, you can find us on the other social media networks like Flote.app, BitChute, and LBRY, as we will be completely off of YouTube by November 5th of 2020. We have no choice. They're going to kick us off or we're going to leave loudly and bring everyone over to the better platforms. And by the way, LBRY is kind of transformed into Odyssey now, so you can find us on there. Either way, it's a carbon copy of itself. So make sure to check us out there. And anyway, let's get into this news. As I mentioned, this article from Zero Hedge, global food prices rise as famine threat emerges. And as the article goes into, food prices continue rising during the coronavirus pandemic, jeopardizing food security for tens of millions worldwide. As the article continues, it says, on Thursday, the Food and Agricultural Organization, FAO, of the United Nations said world food prices rose for the fourth consecutive month in September, led by surging prices for cereals and vegetable oils, reported Reuters. It's interesting that the United Nations, which is also the major body for the World Health Organization, which is basically led by the Communist Chinese Party and people like puppets like Tedros, who of course got tons of money from China, as one of the heads of the Communist Party of Ethiopia. It's interesting that they are talking about all these things that their push for lockdowns globally led to in the first place. Now, of course, that was a catalyst. It wasn't the main cause. The main cause has been decades of central planning, decades of government handouts, decades of government intervention in every part of everyone's life. However, the catalyst cannot be ignored. The lockdowns completely destroyed the global economy and led to the domino collapse that was going to happen one way or another, but it really did knock down those domino pieces more than anything else. Continuing on in the article, it says, FAO's Food Price Index, which tracks the international prices of the top traded food commodities, cereals, oilseeds, dairy products, meat, and sugar, averaged 97.9 in September versus a downwardly revised 95.9 in August. FAO's cereal price index jumped 5.1% in September and is 13.6% above its value 1 year later. And I quote, higher wheat price quotations led the increase spurred by brisk trade activity amid concerns over production prospects in the southern hemisphere, as well as dry conditions affecting winter wheat sowing around Europe, FAO said. Vegetable oil prices soared 6% in September over August prices due to rising palm, sunflower seeds, and soy oil prices hitting 8-month highs. And we have to understand that that leads to inflation, just like massive amounts of printing money leads to inflation. With all these restaurants around the world, a major part of the economy, which all, by the way, are all shutting down, all going bankrupt due to capacity limits, due to being shut down for months in many cases, due to not being able to open bars and all that kind of stuff in many places. The fact of the matter is, most of those small restaurants are being wiped out. They'll be gone by probably around January, especially with the second shutdown coming very, very soon. I guarantee you it's going to happen. And with that happening, you have this rise in vegetable oil prices, which are a major, a major part of the making of food in all these restaurants. Going up 6% is no joke, my friends. That's going to bring up prices 6%, and then people can't afford to pay for food because they're out of work, and then you just see all these things crumble and burn right in front of our eyes as we do nothing about it. Anyway, continuing on here, as it says, dairy prices barely budged over the last month, with moderate price increases for butter, cheese, and skim milk powder, offset by a decline in whole milk powder. Sugar prices declined 2.6% over the month, mainly because of global gluten expected to persist through the 2021 seasons. Meat prices slipped 0.9% on the month and were plus 9.4% on the year, with prices for pork slumping due to China's ban on pork imports from Germany after several cases of African swine fever were recently found. Oh man. As outlined by the World Bank in September, rising food costs because of the virus pandemic have significant impacts on vulnerable households, many of which are being crushed into poverty and hunger. And I quote, "As the coronavirus crisis unfolds, disruptions in domestic food supply chains, other shock effects, food production, and loss of incomes and remittances are creating strong tensions and food security risks in many countries," the World Bank said. In August, the UN World Food Program Director David Beasley warned that $5 billion in emergency funds are needed within 6 months to avert a global famine. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres recently said the world is experiencing one of the worst food crises in 5 decades. The virus-related downturn is driving wealth inequality to extremes and pushing millions of people into extreme poverty. Well, no kidding. Here are the highest risk areas for a food crisis breakout, and you can see this chart right here, which is absolutely horrifying, because we see those places that all these do-good lefties always talk about. Oh, we got to help these people, help the poor, blah, 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 blah. Look at the places that get hit the most by these lockdowns that these preppy, aristocrats on the left are sitting in their high horse saying that we need lockdowns or else we're going to kill the poor. Well, look what's happening. It's absolutely insane. And, you have these famines that people will ask, well, how does this benefit the government? Well, of course it benefits them, because then it pushes people into dependence. They beg for food stamps. The government will just have, the banks and the central banks will just print insane amounts of money and then give massive handouts, and then there will be more allegiance to the government. So everyone will get on their knees and say, thank you, government, for the thing that you created in the first place. It's absolutely sick. And the famine is absolutely horrifying, because we will see 1 in 5 people. I mean, the amount of people, everyone will know someone, or they will be one of the people who are starving and ending up begging for government assistance. And again, because of the dependency that's been, kind of instilled in people's minds over the last century. It's an old, good times create weak men create hard times create strong men create good times, and it goes in a circle and a circle and a circle and a circle. It just always, you get strong and then you get weak. You get strong and then you get weak, because people get coddled in their good times that were created by the strong men. And what we're going to see in the end of this cycle, and we are at the end of the cycle right now, but we're coming up on the climax, is that there's going to be chaos in the streets, far worse than today, and there's going to be people begging for help from the government, and then the government comes in and says, oh, of course we'll help. We are very caring. And it's such a perfect situation for them. I want to get into a few more of these articles here, as this article out of the economiccollapseblog.com says, survey finds that 1 out of every 5 Americans could be out of money by election day. By election day, of course, we're witnessing about 28 million people facing homelessness when the moratoriums expire, where that'll be about 9 out of 100 people. So about 1 in 10 people, basically, because this is stats from months ago. So at this point, it's going to be worse. Basically, 1 in 10 people will be homeless. But of course, the government won't let everyone go homeless, though they are in California, where all the do-gooders are. What's going to happen is the banks are going to seize all these houses. Then the government is going to come in and repurchase all these homes. Of course, the Federal Reserve already owns, I think, 1/3 of all mortgages in the country at the moment. But the government's going to come in, repossess the bank's going to come in, repossess all the houses. The government's going to take all those houses from the banks, and then they're going to do a giveaway free home program where everyone's going to praise the government for. And now the government owns, 10% of all properties in the country outside of the BLM, which is already a huge percentage. And by the way, by BLM, I mean Bureau of Land Management. People always mix that up. But what's going to happen then is, everyone's going to be praising the government for giving them free houses, and that's going to be complete communism, and the government caused the problem in the first place again. And let's look at more of this here. We have other things like this out of Zero Hedge. Rigged billionaire wealth surges as working poor struggle. Of course, countless people are making huge billions of dollars off of this coronavirus lockdown insanity. We have this one. McDonald's had its best month in nearly a decade in September. Look, I talked about this months ago. They shut down all the family-owned grocery stores. They destroy all what's remaining of the competition of small businesses, which, by the way, has been really bad in the United States for years and have been on the verge of completely collapsing for years. Very unprofitable, very little profit involved in a lot of these independent restaurants. And then you have these big major monopolies propped up where they say, go to Walmart for your shopping, go to Safeway for your shopping, go to Albertsons, go to all these places, but don't go to your family grocery store because their aisles are 1 inch too small for you to walk down, or else you'll get the coronavirus. I mean, if you look at Walmart, you're stuffing then everyone into these big monopolies, and then they're stuffed with people because all the other places are shut down, so it actually increases the risk of a viral spread. But with that said, you have this situation where all these small businesses are being destroyed and all these monopolies are being propped up, and again, I don't like either side, but again, by the left. It is by the left because it's the left that's calling for the regulations, the taxation, the red tape. All those things are meant to stop big monopolies when they actually prop them up in the long term. And then you have so many people on the left saying that you're selfish and you're a horrible person if you don't do this for the greater good of the greater number, that collectivist mantra. So they shut down all these small businesses and prop up all these big monopolies. And then they'll come in with more regulations, taxes, and stuff after that, while the government's seizing all these homes and then taking and giving them away for free. And then they own all these homes. And then at the same time, you have this massive dependency for food stamps because of the famine. This is infuriating and it's disgusting, and we need to do something about it now. And it's not just protesting and asking the government to stop. You have to make the government stop. There's no other way about it. You have to make the government stop. And most importantly, one of the best ways to do that isn't through violence. It's through living by example. You have to be free, disobey as many people as possible, to disobey, stand up for yourself, and stop falling into the crowd, stop LARPing, stop obeying the state at every turn just for your own comfort. Being free is not always comfortable, but it's a right thing for humanity, because once we give away our freedoms, we lose the very ability to be human. We lose our humanity, and we've lost our humanity big time this year, based again on a virus with a 99.9997% or whatever survival rate, which is, I mean, by the CDC's own numbers, it's like, I think for people in nursing homes that get it, it's like a 0.26% chance of dying. And then if you take away nursing homes, it's a 0.2% chance of dying overall. And then if you get it again, and if you are under 50, it's like a 0.1% chance. Well, and then if you consider asymptomatic cases, which are way bigger than people realize, it's about 0.04%. And then if you consider all people on Earth and your chance of getting it and then dying, it's about 0.002%. The chances are extremely low. And all of this to cause something that Bill Gates himself said would kill more people back in April, the lockdowns. But of course he said we need the lockdowns anyway. Very nice guy. Guy says he wants to depopulate the world and then says he's here to stick a needle into everyone's arm by force through a social credit score. Great, thanks. And then on top of that, you got to remember that Dr. Fauci runs the Institute for Allergies and Infectious Diseases, where he got millions of dollars of grants to study the coronavirus in bats in China, and at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Millions of dollars of grants going up to October 2019. Very interesting, for about 4 years. And the studied coronavirus in bats. It's 96% similar to the novel coronavirus. Very strange, as it is. And then the study went into how to spread it to humans. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is a fact. Make of it what you will. And now government has everyone by the balls. Well, that worked out well, didn't it? Anyway, I really appreciate everyone watching this today. Stand up for yourself, stand up for your freedoms, live by example. Make sure to hit that like button, check those links below. GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar, anything helps to keep independent media alive, and we won't be on YouTube much longer. So of course, find us on Flote, BitChute, and LBRY. It makes a huge difference. Just go over there, it takes 2 seconds, and join our newsletter, www.iamband.com. You just have to put your email in. It's free. We really appreciate it. It does help keep us alive. And of course, you can go to our Teespring account. There's a bunch of different things below where you could buy t-shirts. You can get involved in multiple different ways. We really appreciate your help, folks. I'm in Montenegro right now, in Pagorka, and I'm on my way to Kotor, where I'm going to be staying for a month. I gave up my house. I gave up all my possessions so that I can continue making videos for you guys. I got bankrupted by the demonetization, so that's why I moved to old Yugoslavia and am living off of very cheap rent and very cheap food and all that kind of stuff, so I can continue doing this stuff. You can't say I'm not passionate about doing this and spreading free information online and telling the truth, because I've sacrificed everything in my life to do that. I'm now standing in an Airbnb in Montenegro. Beautiful city. But would I prefer to be able to be in a reasonable house in, you know, the United States or Canada? Absolutely. I couldn't even afford Mexico, and I was on $400 a month rent there. So I really appreciate anything you guys can do to help keep independent media alive. There's many ways below where you can help fund us, and we are completely viewer funded. So anyways, I really appreciate everyone watching here today, and make sure to, again, check those links. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. My friends, it is go time. We are completely demonetized on YouTube, and we depend on the viewer to stay alive and spread the message of freedom and truth. So check those links below. GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar, anything you guys could do to help keep independent media alive helps enormously in helping spread this message to the masses. So make sure to check those links. Donate to our Bitcoin address on the screen or below. We really appreciate anything you could do to keep us alive. You could check those links below for Cointree as well, where you can find other cryptocurrencies that you can donate and keep WAM alive. Find us on flote.app, flote.app, as well as BitChute and LBRY and Minds. We're on all the other platforms. We are leaving YouTube soon, so make sure to find us at those sites, because it's the only way we can keep talking to you, the masses, the great people that actually care about the future of free humanity. Also, join our new newsletter at www.iamband.com. Anything helps at this point, guys. We need to support free information online. This is the most difficult time in our history, and it takes a lot of hard work to keep our message alive in the face of great evils that have taken over the propaganda news on television as well as on YouTube, where YouTube decides what you can or cannot see. We need your help, my friends. So I really appreciate anything you guys can do. Check those links. There's many ways you can help. Until next time, though, thanks, everyone. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.